I'm smarter than I think I am.
Yeah, but how do you compare to the average bear? That's what the people want to know.
It is the right video. I thought I made a mistake once, but it turns out I was wrong.
You were wrong about being wrong. Yeah, I was wrong once just to see how it feels.
My dad used to say that to me all the time. Like that was his go-to joke. I thought I made a mistake once, but it turned out I was wrong.
Jesus.
Oh my god. You ready for this? You ready for the fever dream, the brain melting fever dream?
I'm so ready. I actually probably spent a disproportionate amount of time looking into the history of Washington D.C. Like the real history, not the fucking QAnon history.
We're gonna get into the real history pretty soon here.
You were
Uh,
super fuzzy. What happened?
Focus, autofocus. There it is.
There we go.
I don't know. Sometimes if you move around, then it tries to catch you, but it's not fast enough. And yeah.
I can see clearly now.
Oh God, stop it. It's so bad. You know this is a live stream. This is all like broadcast to the world
It's broadcast to nobody because we don't announce
because we don't announce it.
it.
It does get saved for a period of time though. It's on YouTube.
All right, all right. Allegedly,
Yeah. Yeah.
lies
I
and
mean,
propaganda.
and we are also on Twitch.
Wasn't
So
that where we're streaming?
well, yeah, but we're on YouTube. Like the live stream is on YouTube Live, and then it's also on Twitch.
Oh, but the Twitch records it, is what you're saying.
No, it's the YouTube actually that keeps it. I thought the
Oh,
Twitch
okay.
did too, but I think it's because we don't have a paid account over there, so don't save any of our videos.
Oh, okay. That makes sense. Well, with our huge Twitch following, maybe need to get on that.
Yeah, we average like one viewer per episode. I'm actually watching us on Twitch right now. I just thought I'd load it and see what we look like over there.
Who who's the guy or
It's
girl
it's very
or they?
quiet. Well, you don't get to find out. Yeah, you don't ever get to find out. But yeah, we're on Twitch.
All right. Well, I am ready. Is the real answer.
I don't think that there was a question.
You said, "Are you ready?" And then I earlier, and I
Oh,
said,
did
"Yeah."
I? Okay.
Or I hallucinated it. I don't know.
Just to let you know, I'm going to diverge from the script a little bit as I wrote things down. Like, it's the content is going to be the same, but the source is going to change slightly.
Sure. Well, I mean, the script is only 14 pages today, so I imagine you would be.
11. It's 11.
Mine is 14. I have.
I'm not going to even try to figure this shit out. All right.
Oh, now it's 17. All right, perfect. I just put it to 125%.
Oh, it just has to do with your screen size. That's
Yeah.
all. That's how it's counting pages. That's
Uh-huh.
ridiculous.
Uh-huh.
That doesn't make any sense. A page is a page, regardless of how large the font is. I mean, it's not like I changed the font size or anything to make it more pages. It's I just enlarged the whole display.
I don't work for Google. I don't know what to tell you.
Like if you hold a magnifying glass up in front of a book, it doesn't go from 500 pages to 700. It's
Well,
still 500 pages. It's
and
just
also,
larger.
it's not even like it fucking delineates between the pages in the format that I look at it.
I know, because in the pageless setup, like, how does he even counting a page?
I
Anyway,
don't I don't
whatever.
know.
Let's do
Good thing we're
this.
paid by the page instead of the word.
You ready?
Yeah.
To me, DC is very exciting. And a lot of people say, well, where's he going from there? Well, I have calls from politicians begging me to go to Chicago, begging me to go to New York, begging me to go to Los Angeles. And if we didn't go to Los Angeles with Newsom, they run it so badly, I don't think we would have been able to have the Olympics. They would have ripped down that city. We went there and it stopped day one. And the chief of police in Los Angeles, when they asked him the question, he said, thank God they came, because we could not have handled what was happening. We went in, we stopped it, and that was it. So they needed help. They don't. To me, DC is very exciting, and
begging me. They were begging me.
All of DC, all of the citizens, they came up to me. Every citizen in DC, all of the thousands of residents, they said, "Sir, I want you to know how appreciative I am, and we love your hat, and your hair is very nice today."
All right, before we get into it, hey everybody, we're back with another Wet Wired. It is August 28th, and so you know who we are and whatever. I'm not going to say our names every time, Jules. You can't make me do it. It's very awkward.
You know, I don't know if I was forcing you to do it, but I mean, how are they supposed to know who we are?
Who cares who we are?
It's like when they remember.
See, Jules is secretly really annoyed that he's not more famous than he is. He thinks he deserves notoriety.
No, I think my whole point of reference for how a show should look is based in 1997, specifically the summer of 97. If you're just joining us here today, I'd like to invite you to drag out your oil paints. I mean,
so it's all Bob Ross.
Everything is just, if you're just joining us, and you invite the listener to join us. If it's for the first time, you let them know who you are and what you're doing.
If they don't know that by now. All that aside, before we get into the this actual episode, make sure to go over to Apple Podcasts or Spotify, rate, review the show. This is a back-to-back public episode, so we had one last week. We're doing another one this week. So also, if you haven't subscribed to Patreon, why don't you head over there and get a free trial? Catch up on the whole Cold as Ice series. Catch up on all the premium episodes that we've been putting out for the last, 3 years or something like that. So yes, it's all there. All right, that's enough. I want to start off with a quote. Here we go. The template is live. We bumped this story in our last episode because we spent too much time complaining about how dumb AI is. And this is all, and this story is also a sort of a return to more of our roots. We started this podcast talking about weirdos and cults and gurus and grifters, and a lot of that involved QAnon. Because typically you get one or all of those categories from pretty much every QAnon story.
It's a fucking grab bag of nut jobs.
And so because of exigencies, I suppose, or at least the perceived exigencies, we've done a lot more news type episodes. I can hear that.
Sorry, that was an accident.
Professionalism, Jules. How long? You've been a podcaster for how long?
Allegedly.
So a lot of these, just because of the way that the world has shifted, we sort of, I don't know, I suppose, especially after the fallout of January 6th, we kind of moved more, like QAnon news became news. It was just the news. And at some point we've slipped a lot more into talking about politics, specifically criticizing Democrats for, being fake leftists. And so this is because we haven't talked about QAnon, it doesn't mean that it's gone. It's been there the whole time, and it is there the whole time. And you might think that it faded away, but it's really, I mean, you could think of it as laying dormant, but it's not even dormant. It's just as active as it ever was. You just don't see it as much because the news cycle has moved on to other things. The mainstream media is not talking about it, but it is there. stewing, chugging along, metastasizing. Like
part of it is that so much of the major points of QAnon have been adopted by mainstream not only political figures, but the dominant parties. Whether we're looking at the Republicans or even variants that we see in the Democratic Party. I mean, there's the phrase "blue anon," where we get the same kind of conspiracy thinking from Democrats as we do Republicans, but the whole of the political sphere has adopted a lot of these ideas, and if not the ideas, the spirit of them. If it's not explicitly talking about child sex dungeons underneath pizza parlors, then at the very least there is something going on behind the scenes. It's just that Democrats don't use the same terms of deep state or something like that.
But that word is used by Democrats too now. I mean,
they've even adopted that.
I mean, I use it. I'm not immune to the vocabulary. I've adopted a lot of these. I mean, and that's the thing about QAnon, and that makes it so insidious, is that there really is a utility to some of that worldview. Maybe not the specific instances. I mean, almost never any specific instances, but this sort of this culture of skepticism and conspiracy is not exactly 100% off base. It's, like they're like, to use another of their expressions, like in a way they are sort of over the target.
Yeah.
And if you want to see this stuff like still active in, and like the way that it's developed since 2017 or whenever the first Q drop was, you just have to go to Telegram, or I mean, just go to fucking Twitter. It's everywhere. I mean, most of what we're talking about is pulled directly from tweets today and extrapolations based on those tweets. So having Trump in the White House, who's an enormous QAnon figure, and then former QAnon influencers, people who really cut their teeth getting famous, talking about like child sex trafficking and stuff like that, like Kash Patel and Dan Bongino, who are director and deputy directors of the FBI now.
And even Fox News basically used the 4chan and 8chan as their fucking vision board when they're trying to gin up some news stories. So we have the Secretary of War, Pete Hegseth. It's going to be the Secretary of War again, by the way. I don't know if you caught that. That came directly from Fox News. And you even have fucking Laura Loomer, who's not even an elected official, who's a major influencer in the White House.
I mean, maybe she wants everybody to think she is, for sure. And that's the crux of the lawsuit that she has against Bill Maher, is that by Bill Maher alleging that she was having sex with Trump, that he was damaging her chances of getting some press secretary gig or something like that, or some kind of communications director gig. And and she like, part of her deposition was her claiming this close connection with the White House. Who knows?
Did you hear the part of her deposition where she was talking about?
I read the whole thing. Yeah, I know.
Okay, all right.
Yeah. Let's not get too off topic here.
Go ahead.
So all of this is coming from Trump's announcement on August 11th that he was taking, quote, historic action to, quote, take the Capitol back from somebody by deploying the National Guard in Washington, D.C. At the time, it was just the National Guard. It has since expanded to U.S. Marshals, DEA, anybody who basically didn't have an assignment, or that he could snatch up and make patrol the streets. And by federalizing the city's police department to reestablish law and order. He then threatened the homeless population with jail time if they don't leave the city. This is from his original post on Truth Social. Jules, you want to take this one?
Crime in Washington, D.C. is totally out of control. Local youths and gang members some only 14, 15, and 16 years old, are randomly attacking, mugging, maiming, and shooting innocent citizens, at the same time knowing that they will almost immediately released.
Will be almost immediately released.
Will be almost immediately released. They are not afraid of law enforcement because they know nothing ever happens to them, but it's going to happen now. The law in DC must be changed to prosecute these minors as adults and lock
I
them
love how
up.
minors is a flexible term at this point. When he's talking about 14, 15, and 16-year-olds, minors is in quotes.
Well, so far he's putting quotation marks youths and minors.
Now
And
keep him part like keep in mind the like his campaign, years long campaign against those kids in Central Park that he had
he
accused in the press of, like for
he pulled out a full page front page ad.
yeah, who were later exonerated.
Yeah. But they were black. They're, so that's his motivation. But by the way, notably the guy on the Epstein list is putting in quotation marks youths and minors. Who's to say what age they really are? What constitutes a
Who's
minor?
to say? Yeah, who's to say?
And
It's
locked them up for a long time, starting at age 14. The most recent victim was beaten mercilessly by local thugs. Which victim,
Yeah,
Donnie?
keep going. Yeah, keep going. The most
Washington,
recent.
D.C. must be safe, clean, and beautiful for all Americans, and importantly, for the world to see. If D.C. doesn't get its act together, and quickly, we will have no choice but to take federal control of the city and run this city how it should be run, and put criminals on notice that they're not going to get away with it anymore. They were just missing a declaration from the president. Now they're gonna get their act together. The guy who's fucking half bent over in a fucking Pilates pose on fentanyl, that guy is gonna get his shit together now that the president's in charge. What the fuck are you talking about? Perhaps it should have been done a long time ago. Then this incredible young man and so many others would not have had to go through the horrors of violent crime. If this continues, I am going to exert my powers and federalize, all caps, the city. Make America great again, obviously in all caps. He didn't sign off. He didn't sign off with the thank you for your attention to this matter.
Thank you for this attention to this matter. Yeah.
Yeah, this attention to your matter.
Now, a lot of, so there's so much of this. I'm going to follow up the actual executive order. This was posted on the White House website. Section 1. Crime is out of control in the District of Columbia. I mean, like as professional as you would expect. Washington District of Columbia is our nation's capital and home to the central institutions of American governance. Yet rising violence in the capital now urgently endangers public servants, citizens, and tourists, disrupts tourists. Like they're locking up all the tourists. Like they're deporting the tourists. Disrupts safe and secure transportation. They're asking for like a bounty, like or a bond for you to come and like do tourism in the U.S. of like what it was like $15,000 or something like that. Like for certain countries that are like where people like habitually overstay. Like yeah. Disrupts safe and secure transportation and the proper functioning of the federal government and forces the diversion of critical public resources toward emergency response and security measures. The city government's failure to maintain public order and safety has had a dire impact on the federal government's ability to operate efficiently to address the nation's broader interests without fear of our workers being subjected to rampant violence. So in response to Trump sending the National Guard into DC and taking over its police force, there have been a few exceptionally active QAnon social media accounts justifying it by invoking this like fairly obscure, even for sovereign citizens, obscure sovereign citizen claim that has been previously pushed about DC being a corporation and claiming that Trump's actions now somehow reverse that. So it's really I mean, is this so fucking messy? I mean, Trump is undoing something that was done in the 1800s. DC used to be under federal control. Then they sort of like kind of removed it from federal control because the idea, like to some extent at least, was that Congress shouldn't be worrying about managing a city when they're managing the country.
You can't have a fucking senator also trying to figure out what day we're doing trash pickup.
And so the idea was to just disentangle these two things and make DC this sort of semi-autonomous district. It's not a state. It doesn't have a governor. It's only one city. It is contained inside the city limits, the District of Columbia. So
this is from the original fears. The whole existence of DC is a combination of the original fears of the anti-federalists and also the divisions that existed well before the Civil War in the middle of the 19th century between the northern quasi-industrial economy and the southern largely agricultural economy. And these divisions placed it after moving between 1774 and 1800. The capital moved fucking 14 times. New York, Philly, a bunch of other places, and they eventually settled on literally the most middle ground that they could between the north and the south on the Potomac River. And this was in part for a bunch of different reasons, but part of it was a compromise both between the northern states and the southern states, which already had the divisions laid by their economic systems, and basically who were the fucking power brokers between those two economic spheres, and between the federalists and anti-federalists, that they were just trying to do this fucking balancing act where they just shook off the yoke of the king. I mean, to a certain degree, let's not get too carried away with that whole liberty narrative, but nevertheless, the anti-federalists were pretty fucking concerned about a national government. And so they did this kind of quasi incorporation sort of a thing. And if you've lived near any kind of semi-rural place in your life, you've heard the term incorporating into a city. It's not that fucking weird of a term, because that's literally just what it's called when you take some place that's unincorporated, meaning it doesn't have its own body of government.
That's what I thought of too. Like, how many towns in Texas are unincorporated? It just means that there's no mayor in your town. You don't have, there's no town hall. There, you might have a post office, but that's federal. That's not local. And there's just like, it is a municipality, but it's not incorporated.
It's just part of the broader municipal government. It doesn't have its own setup of all the different organs of the state that are necessary to make a small population operate.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, even in like where I lived in New York, there are plenty of unincorporated towns. There are towns that used to be incorporated that are now unincorporated or were absorbed by a neighboring township. It happens all the time.
The undoing of QAnon and the sovereign citizens is that they can't comprehend synonyms.
Well, and yes. Well, they also don't understand the root of the fucking word, which is, a common problem in just people speaking English. That corporation just means a body. And so whether you're talking about a private corporation or a municipal corporation, they think corporation means business. The only way they can think of it as
corpse. It's a body.
It's a body, and it just means a collected thing. And I don't know. It's just
and part of the conspiracy theory crowd, not just the fucking sob sits, is across in religious spheres, in wherever you want. They fucking love made up etymology. They don't want to talk to an etymologist. They don't want to talk to somebody who actually.
They don't even want to look it up on Atomy Online.
No, they don't. They're not interested in fucking linguists, historians. They don't want to know any of that shit. They read some superficial thing on a Wiktionary, and call it a fucking day, having not knowing anything of the language that they're talking about.
You know
And then
what?
they're off.
You couldn't even look at a definition like on Wikipedia, yeah, like without finding the root of that word and its multiple different uses. You can't. They never looked it up anywhere. You know, like period, flat out. I mean, I've said it before. When it comes to conspiracy thinkers, and when it comes to, you know, and that includes sovereign citizens, like when it comes to any of these conspiracists, the thing that binds them all together is that they are all absolutely concrete thinkers. There is no room for anything abstract. There is no room for a nuance. There's no room for gray areas. There's nothing. There's no spectrum of meaning or interpretation. It is all absolute, 100% one thing or another thing. That's what binds them all together.
Meanwhile, they're almost more postmodernist than the fucking postmodernists themselves.
Which, you know, makes it also like it gives it a lot in common with, you know, these kind of like black and white religions where you have this very defined categories of good and evil. You know, like there is a ton of crossover there, you know, in the way that in the worldview that all these different groups share. So back to Trump's executive order before we get into the QAnon of it all. We have to keep in mind that all of this, and this was alluded to in Trump's Truth Social post, all of this was instigated by Doge employee Big Balls getting carjacked in DC. All of it.
I don't even remember his name right now because
I think that's what his license says.
In legitimate fucking new, I mean, well, whatever that means, in mainstream news media like CNN, with a pretty white lady with blonde hair is coming on with a straight face saying Big Balls as his name instead of his Christian given name.
Edward Corsetine. Big Balls is better. He should just go with that.
He should just get fucking legally changed.
So all of this on August 7th, Big Balls and his girlfriend were carjacked. And the cops showed up, and I mean, somebody called the police. I don't know who did, either his girlfriend, him, or a bystander. Everybody split. There were like 7 teenagers there. And
allegedly.
You know, there were witnesses. And so I saw the police report on this, or at least part of it. And so the cops managed to apprehend 2 of them. He identified them both as being part of this crowd, and so did she, and so on and so forth. You know, you have a pretty cut and dry assault situation there. And it's like, but this is the thing that motivated Trump. It wasn't, I mean, all this stuff had been going along, all the complaints and everything like that, but this is the thing. And
he's been talking about DC for a while too.
Yeah, he absolutely has. And he's talking about crime in New York too, and in LA. Obviously, the with the protests in LA, the pro-Palestine protests in LA, and his deployment of the National Guard and the Marines precedes all of this. But it's hard to say if this would have happened in DC, if it would have ever come to this point without having large-scale protests and unrest like that, if it wasn't for this fucking carjacking. And, you know, so the other thing is his fixation on homeless people and seeing homeless people, you know, this sort of like NIMBY attitude where, you know, like he is most likely motivated by that too. He just wants to make sure nobody sees homeless people. So this is why he's telling them to leave or they're going to go to jail.
Well, he specifically mentioned on the arrival of Putin in Alaska. You can see Russia from there. He specifically mentioned that it's embarrassing. Like it's you need to clean up your house for the guests to come over for dinner, and it's embarrassing that you have dirty dishes.
It's embarrassing that you have people sleeping on your floor in the living room doing fentanyl.
I mean, and by the way, can we go back for a second and emphasize that Big Balls was jumped by teenagers? So when Trump is mentioning 14,
I mean,
15, 16-year-olds.
That's what he's talking about. That's how
what he's
old the
talking about.
carjackers were. Yeah.
And then on top of it,
there were 7 of them. So it's like, it could happen to anybody.
Sure.
I mean,
but
like,
on top of that, Mr. Balls himself is also a teenager.
Yeah, he's like 19
he's
years
like
old,
19.
isn't he?
I mean, at
Yeah.
most he's like 20. And he was fucking he had his grubby little fucking jam hands inside of highly sensitive fucking data. I want to say IRS while he was in Doge. Either way, like fucking serious sensitive data of thousands of citizens. He
Probably
was just
millions.
doodle dicking around, and he was basically just an intern for Daddy Musk before getting this position. Like he barely fucking squeezed out of his mother's thighs before getting this position in Doge.
Are you done yet?
Yep.
All right.
Okay, I'm done.
God. Regardless of the real reasons behind Trump militarizing DC, for QAnon true believers, this is nothing less than the fulfillment of a long-standing prophecy. And I really, that word is entirely appropriate. It is a prophecy. So rather than try to summarize all of this, I want to just read it straight from the source. This is all coming from a relative newcomer to the QAnonosphere. A social media account with the handle Observing Consciousness. This account, at least under this name, has only been active since around 2022, which means that like QAnon, was already in full force for a very long time before this account ever came into being. So, this is like third wave QAnon at this point. The account describes itself as complex. Oh, actually, I wanted Jules to read this. Go for it.
Complex systems dynamics, alchemist, elucidating truth into deep
No. That's one thing.
Oh, okay.
That's what.
Oh yeah. No, I see that now. Okay. Complex systems dynamics alchemist, elucidating truth.
Say it again. Complex. All right. No. I just want to emphasize this. I'm not criticizing your reading. Complex systems dynamics alchemist. It's nothing. Nothing at all. I don't see anything at all there when I read that. Jules, please continue.
All right. Elucidating truth into the deep state shadows.
Those deep state shadows? This next one is my favorite.
He's a master NLP practitioner. All right.
Yes.
So for those, I know a lot of our listeners probably already know what this is because they've maybe encountered this in the manosphere, but this is like old school manosphere shit. I haven't seen this in 10 fucking years. Nevertheless,
it makes me want to say that this account, even though this account's only been active since 2022, none of that is indicative of the age of the person running this account or people. I mean, because you could have multiple people contributing to it.
All right.
But the age of the person who wrote this profile,
minimum 35.
I'd say 50s.
I believe it.
I mean, people were NLP is the thing that preceded that whole pickup artist bullshit. And, being able, and all those ideas about like negging and shit like that are coming from NLP.
So NLP, all right, to back up, when we had these fucking grainy film held in a community center conferences where some guy with a whiteboard would be telling other fucking losers how to pick up women before Mystery got his hit show on VH1. And the NLP stands for neuro-linguistic programming. It's
the Rolling Stones author, the Rolling Stones journalist that wrote that book.
It was Neil Strauss.
Neil Strauss.
I read both of those first 2 books that he wrote.
I didn't know he wrote a second one.
Yeah,
I did read that book. Yeah.
It's compelling if you don't think about it for too long.
Yeah,
and especially if you're motivated to like believe that this is like the unlocked secret to all of your sexual frustrations.
Well, and the biggest real world concerns in your life are picking a cell phone plan. You know, like
Okay. So neurolinguistic programming is this idea that you can embed subconscious messaging into the target, I guess, through using a combination of speech, like some kind of a fucking street magician, except to pick up women. That's the concept.
except to pick up
And
women.
and you know, instead of like, you know, getting a few bucks for a fun card trick, or like, I got your wallet, haha, or you know, whatever.
Of
But
all the pieces of junk that I've ever encountered in my life that I wish I would have held on to just for its kitsch value. I remember I had this girlfriend that had she used to always buy the Weekly World News, you know, like Bat Boy and shit like that, you know, like
Sick Sad World.
like she would always buy that, and it was just for fun, you know, like
Yeah.
she thought it was hilarious. And one of them that I remember so clearly that was always sitting around our house for years was get everything you want with double reverse psychology.
Perfect.
That's how I always think about NLP.
That's exactly it. I mean, that's a perfect combination of words. I wouldn't change the sentence by even a syllable.
I cannot tell you how many times, I mean, you know, the people ask that question, you know, how often do you think of Rome? And everybody gives a very boring answer.
Yeah.
I cannot tell you how many times, like just a month. It's probably not weekly, but it's close, that I remember that article title. It has stuck with me. This is like 2 decades now that it has stuck with me.
Give that guy a raise.
Oh, I know. I hope that person went on to do great things. They
All right,
they
so the last
definitely
part of this
they
guy's
changed
profile.
the course of my life.
Yeah.
Like Jean Valjean, it changed the direction of everything.
All right. So the last two parts of Casanova's profile description here are Badlands media contributor. I assume that's some indie right-wing junk news mailer. And then Christian. Just in case we weren't sure what this guy's religion is or how he identifies in terms of his favorite fucking cult, he's Christian.
Yeah.
So,
To just to add you to define some terms here, Badlands Media is a Rumble channel and a website that you can find at badlandsmedia.tv. And it describes itself as, we are the news now. And it's unfiltered and unapologetic. Yeah, it's on Twitter, Substack. Yeah, it's they're basically doing QAnon news. Everything is like every news story gets baked, and that's, yeah, you can find it there.
don't worry about this part. Keep going.
All right.
I'm moving it down a little bit.
So this account is a really good example of where QAnon has been headed since its early days. It is, you know, a bit more openly fascistic. It's a bit more religious, and it's a bit more militaristic. And you see this fascination with quack science and the right-wing political figures like Italian PM Meloni and Viktor Orban from Hungary. And interestingly, this account is also extremely critical of Israel. Specifically, there are quite a few posts in this account that claim that Netanyahu's government is essentially just a nest of pedophiles.
Which,
unsurprisingly, they don't seem to care about Gaza or Israel's genocide at all. So you kind of see where this is going. Like when you're looking for, you know, that root of the protocols of the elders of Zion and like where it's going to rear itself up, this is how. When you're critical of Israel but not the genocide, it means you're really worried about Jews.
Yeah, I mean, like fucking Marjorie Taylor Greene, you know, fucking Jewish space later.
Actually, but Marjorie Taylor Greene has been posting repeatedly about the genocide in Gaza.
It's
in an incredibly pro-Palestinian way.
yeah, broken clock or whatever they say.
Yeah, and so you don't need to give it to her, but in this case, you kind of like you also don't want to you don't want to throw away common cause. Like it doesn't mean that she's redeemed herself or anything like that, but
No, she's definitely like motivated by anti-Semitism for sure.
Maybe there's just no telling. I wonder how much it's motivated by talking to her own children. Because we know that that Palestinian support among Americans is stronger the younger you get.
Yeah, that makes sense. Well, the one part that's a tiny bit bizarre about that is that on the whole, I mean, it's not so. Yeah, it's a little bizarre that she's going against Trump doctrine, especially being such a fucking loyalist as she is. And it's a little bizarre that she is going against, I mean, even just broader Republican doctrine. But what's really bizarre to me is that Zionism is a Christian nationalist project well before it's a Jewish nationalist project. And obviously we can't we don't want to conflate Jewishness with Zionism. That's the whole thing that fucking the Zionists are trying to do. But it started as a Christian nationalist project in the 19th century, and it is all about the fucking Armageddon and end times and bringing back Jesus and all the rest of that shit. So if anybody is going to be on board with the Zionist project, I would think it would be somebody who is so feverishly Christian nationalist. And yet,
I know. Yeah, it just goes to show that when you think you got somebody figured out, something happens and
she's
you're
so
like,
deep and complex.
well, I mean, people in general they have such a mixture of motivations that drive them to do whatever the fuck they do or to hold whatever fucking views they have, that you like it is very I think it's good to be a little apprehensive with categorically labeling somebody. And because I would have assumed that she would be absolutely pro-Israel, but I think maybe in in Marjorie Taylor Greene's case, yeah, the conversations with her kids, but it's that other side of QAnon, which is its obsessive fixation with children.
Yeah.
And so if she is also, maybe she could be reading from this same account on Twitter, for all we know. She could be liking these posts because likes are now private. You have no idea. If she doesn't repost it, you don't know. But she could be reading the same source material wherever this account got its information from. And that that attitude of treating Netanyahu's government as, like a nest of pedophiles, she could have that opinion also, and just make her automatically dismissive of what, this particular regime in Israel, even if she might be more sympathetic to the Zionist project.
Yeah.
Or it could just be absolute anti-Semitism and protocols of the elders type shit. Like maybe she's got that. I don't know. Who knows? It's a mystery still.
Well, do they have any sex predators in high-ranking positions in Israel?
Just the cyber security guy Alexandrovich, that the I guess acting state's attorney or acting federal attorney in Nevada just let go back to Israel instead of facing trial, or at least getting arraigned even. Like no bond, no nothing, no monitoring. Yeah. So that's one thing I wanted to bring up here, just about the Israel position, is that actually in Netanyahu's government there is at least one pedophile who was this guy was tripped up in a sting operation where he was trying to meet up with what he thought was a 15-year-old and for I guess to go have sex. And and then he was arrested because it was a sting operation. And then this woman, I forget what her name is, Sirtan something. I can't remember her name. She has a colorful story too, because she seems to be taking money from some of the like absolutely worst people you could imagine to take money from. And so she during her unsuccessful bid to become district attorney of Las Vegas, she was getting donations from these like terrible people. Thankfully, she lost that race, but oh my god, like I've been reading about her and just some of these like real estate people and just shady fucking figures that have been giving her money to get that job. And but now, like, in spite of all that, or probably because of all that, Trump made her the acting attorney for Nevada for this district. Yeah. So this guy, Tom Artyom Alexandrovich, he's a cybersecurity specialist. He was arrested in the U.S. and charged with seeking sexual contact with a minor, and she just let him go. No conditions, no monitoring. Like I said, he's back in Israel, and yeah. So there he is. I mean, this is like he's a senior Israeli official. Like, I don't know if I said that.
Just a government clerk. Chris Hansen bursts through the wall as the fucking Kool-Aid man, and then he says, "Oh, wait, what's that? Oh, he's Israeli. He's an official. Never mind. Send him back. It's fine."
Yeah. So of course the White House denies any involvement in letting this guy skip back to Israel. And a court date was set for sometime in September. I'm sure he'll be back.
Do you think he's going to make his appearance?
Absolutely. I mean, he seems like an honest fella. I mean, he's in the government. So this is good news for the QAnon crowd because it doesn't, contradict, the White House denying this and, the fact that there's an Israeli pedophile on the loose is good news for QAnon because it doesn't contradict their most foundational, really religious reverence for Trump and his role for them as this sort of, I don't know, like a godhead or some kind of an anointed figure who's constantly outfoxing the deep state.
Well, he's less of a prophet in terms of like religion.
He's not a prophet
as an instrument of God, like Moses or something.
Yeah, that's what I mean about him as this like anointed figure. Like he's chosen by God to lead his people out of bondage. Like Moses, like you said. And
they excuse it in the same way where it's like, yeah, Moses killed a guy, but also he's a great leader.
Yeah, it's this sort of broken vessel kind of attitude where like the vessel itself is damaged, but it contains the godliness. And so on the surface, yeah, you see this flawed man who's made all these mistakes. It's a very evangelical redemption narrative.
And all of his cracks are just filled in with gold.
Right. So yeah, right.
Like a Japanese pot.
Kitsunage. Yeah. I think that's what it's called, Kitsunage.
And his cracks would be filled in with gold, wouldn't they?
Oh, they would be. Absolutely. No, actually, Jules, it would.
He is the gilded man.
I was going to say it is all gilding. It is not actual gold. It is just painted gold. It's like all that bullshit that he's put up around the Oval Office. All right, let's get back to the QAnon prophecy.
He's such a robber baron. That's what he fucking named his son. No, too far. All right. It sounded good in my head before it came out of my mouth.
I could tell you were really excited about it.
All right. Let's move on.
All right. Back to this tweet thread that I've been wanting to get to this whole time. Trump decode, a thread.
The fucking ellipses. Oh my God. I want to strangle a person when they abuse ellipses. And this guy, all right. Anyway, carry on.
I'm going to digress for a second and talk about Jules's pedantry when it comes to the way English is written, the way it's spoken. Languages are flexible, Jules. They can become whatever they need to be to suit the needs of the people who use them.
Ellipses are my one hang up.
There is no standard for this. It can, as long as the convention has a consistency to it, then it can be utilized however somebody wants to.
That's true.
There is
But
no
this guy
but.
with
There's
the-
no but here. I refuse to criticize the guy based on how on his sentence structure. Try to understand why he would do this, because
Okay.
in his mind, one thought is bleeding into the next, which means that he has the loosest of punctuation, and it just drifts from one thing into the next. It is all stream of consciousness.
Which would make sense with the fucking ellipses, because there's probably shit left out.
Yes, every single time it's just drifting. This is a fever tweet.
Spurred by malaria and DMT.
So I will not be reading off every instance of an ellipses, because there are dozens and dozens and dozens of them.
In the first 4 words, there are 4. There are 2 instances.
It does feel a bit abused. Trump decode. I'm just going to pause for the ellipses. A thread. What Trump did today will be studied for decades. Not because it made headlines, but because it silently rewired the very architecture of global power. I'd be bombastic from the beginning, right? Trump doing something whimsically because big balls got carjacked is rewiring the architecture of global power. If I pause every time I have something to say, I will never get through this.
Well, actually, it doesn't even matter, because he actually doesn't use periods. He uses ellipses where periods would go.
It's a flow. It's a vibe.
Okay, keep going.
Trump did what no president ever could or would dare. He reached into the core of the world's hidden command structure and pulled a keystone loose. In a single stroke, he signed into action a move that didn't just address crime or restore order in Washington, D.C. It struck at the legal heart of the unholy trinity, those words are capitalized, that has ruled for generations. You have to see this.
Is this like an anti-Catholic thing? Are we back in the 70s again?
By federalizing the district, he did more than take command of the Capitol security. He began dismantling a 150-year-old corporate sovereignty born from the Act of 1871, a legal fiction that made DC a separate power center. I will pause here because this is like foundational sovereign citizen bullshit. There is no such thing as a legal fiction.
Everything legal is fiction. It's already made up. Everything's made up in the first place.
But it also does exist as a legal structure. If you vote something, if the legislation convenes in whatever legislation, the state, your state legislation, your county board of commissioners, with your city council, if any board, like any legislative body gets together and they vote on something, it takes on substance. They've created it. It's there. It exists. It doesn't cease to exist or doesn't become somehow fictional because somebody else doesn't like it. It's still there. All right. A legal fiction that made DC a separate power center, equal in standing to the City of London and Vatican City. You can read the Act of 1871. It is those laws, that legislation, like back in even in the late 19th century, it wasn't as big as it is now. They weren't 1,000 pages.
Yeah,
they were a lot more succinct back then. You can go read this, and it does nothing of the sort.
Yeah, a lot of this shit was fucking handwritten. They
all was handwritten. It was.
They didn't want to go through it.
And even if it wasn't handwritten, they weren't going to set 150 pages of type for this for every law when they're churning these out daily. So here we go. Trump just entered jurisdictional warfare territory. I mean, whatever that is. What jurisdictional warfare?
He uses warfare a lot.
Yes, this guy loves the word warfare. And the moment the ink dried, the pyramid of global control lost its military cornerstone. You have
What is it? What is a military cornerstone?
Oh,
What are you
we're going to
talking
find
about?
out. We're going to find out. In the next tweet, we will. We're on the second one, by the way. You have seen the post below. I will put it in one post because you need to see it, the holistic picture of what just happened. Keep going. There's a lot of typos in here, so if I stumble, I'll read it again. 3. The pyramid of control. To understand the magnitude of that, picture a 3-tier structure, often called the unholy trinity. Often called by who? I have no idea. These are not symbolic only. They are the physical jurisdictions with unique legal status, each performing a distinct function in global governance. The 3 city-states, City of London, Financial Command, an independent square mile within London. It operates under its own laws and governs the heart of global finance. Here, central banking systems, international debt markets, and legal contracts that bind nations are managed. I mean, the idea, I got to stop. I have to keep reading. I'm sorry.
Well, I mean,
no. Hold on.
Okay.
Let me at least get through the 3 cities here.
Okay.
Modern derivatives markets, IMF conditional loans, and World Bank policy enforcement all trace back here. Vatican City, spiritual command, a sovereign entity in Rome. It holds influence over the world's moral, doctrinal, and cultural compass. Beyond religion, it is a custodian of ancient archives. Esoteric knowledge and centuries-old diplomatic networks that reach into global policy making and education.
Well, that's where they keep the box that melts your face. You know that, right?
No, that's in the Smithsonian.
Oh, son of a bitch. Okay, no, I remember at the end of that documentary, they're in that big warehouse and they put
it's actually probably in the national.
Artifacts.
It's probably in the National Archives. Washington, D.C., Military Command, a federal district outside the jurisdiction of any state. It houses the Pentagon and the full spectrum of U.S. military and intelligence agencies. From here, global military alliances, covert operations, and surveillance networks are coordinated. Okay. You cannot unpack this. We would spend an entire episode unpacking all of this. But let's get at just a couple of these things. The City of London. Yes, that is inside of London. Yes. Okay. I don't know. Does it have separate laws and a separate mayor and separate governance? I have no idea. I don't think it matters. But the claim here that all of this IMF and World Bank stuff and derivatives markets are all like for the entire planet are running through there. I think that's insane. I think that's that's absolutely insane to think that, especially considering the role that Wall Street has in the global economy, or the role that at this point Beijing has or Tokyo has in the global economy. I think that New York has equal importance to global finance, at least equal, if not greater importance to global finance than London.
Or even just after the fucking Bretton Woods agreement, how the U.S. dollar is the fucking dollar of the world.
It's not the British pound. Everything's not traded in fucking sterling. You know, it's the dollar. And if anything
is how much fucking quid for a barrel of oil.
And if anything supplants the dollar in the next 2 decades, it's going to be the yuan and not the pound.
Yeah. And but here I do want to point out, he's so fucking close with each of these points. Like like you could fucking reach out and touch the point with each of these. the point of London, he's saying, all right, it's the center of global commerce. Well, global commerce does have a fucking Western hegemony in the United States and the UK and several other places where capital is largely concentrated. Yeah, obviously it is. No shit, Sherlock. And that is largely how the world is fucking controlled and oppressed, is through capitalism. And then fucking Vatican City, here we go. We got fucking religion and the influence of religion on people. Great point if it wasn't so fucking stupidly made. And then talking about DC and how we have this fucking powerhouse of the largest military on Earth. That's a great point. It is the largest military that has ever existed. We spend more in this country on the military than the next 9 nations combined. It's like 7 to 12, depending on which statistic you look at in a given year, but usually around 9 nations combined. Like, that's a lot of fucking military. But instead, he turns this into this fucking
Unholy
John
Trinity.
Brown, not John Brown,
Dan
Dan Brown novel.
It's the unholy trinity. Each of these, you take them on their own. See, you skipped over the Vatican because that one has absolutely no foundation in any reality whatsoever. Like it's like the idea
religion, you know,
the idea of the Vatican City being a spiritual command center for the planet.
Nobody believes the Pope anymore. That's so last century.
I mean, even among Catholics, like Catholics are still, you know, like around somewhere around half of all Christian followers are Catholic. But even among Catholics, there are so many of them that disagree openly with the Pope. So how do you have a command center?
Cardinals and shit.
How do you have a command center when you have a continent worth of people that thinks the Pope is wrong about something? You know, like that's been going on for decades and decades and decades now. It's like since John Paul II, and you know, like the whole, like, you know, contraception's okay sometimes. It's like there's been a big shift. You know, you have these extremely sort of right-wing conservative Catholics that think that the last couple of popes have been awful.
Yeah.
So how do you have a command center when you have disagreement?
I mean, just look at J.D. Vance.
Exactly. Look at J.D. Vance. Well, he killed the last pope, so you know, and then that should tell you everything. And the idea that the Vatican holds influence over the world's moral, doctrinal, and cultural compass. It's just you can't even hold that idea in your head. You can't get to the sentence before you start disagreeing with it. Like you disagree with the beginning of it before you finish reading the end. So this just gets more bonkers from here. Oh, and the DC thing about like all the U.S. military and intelligence agencies. Well, all of those things, the intelligence agencies and military and stuff like that, none of that's actually in DC.
Yeah, they're across the world.
Well, no, I mean, even if they're the central location inside the U.S., most of it's in Virginia.
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah.
You know, like it's almost none of that stuff is actually in Washington D.C. I mean, you can go to Crystal City and in Virginia, and which is where you see all of that stuff. The Pentagon is in Arlington.
Yeah, I mean, and that's even where they have all their satanic symbolism seen from an aerial point of view, according
to so where do you get this idea that somehow changing the status, even though Trump did not change the status, he did not, you know, countermand the act of 1871 that made Washington D.C. an incorporated area. He didn't do any of that. Even if he does take federal control of the police, how do you go from there to like that changes the role of the Pentagon? Like the Pentagon didn't move. He didn't federalize Arlington. So what changes?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it is bonkers. I mean, absolutely bonkers. So then all right, so let's see, from here, global 1 degree. 1 degree of separation, the visible network, each of these hubs connects directly into the modern bureaucratic and corporate power grid. Finance, City of London, Bank for International Settlements, Federal Reserve. Again, the Federal Reserve and Wall Street cartels are not in London. All right, whatever. He actually uses those as evidence to support the claim that London's the center of finance. Global credit rating agencies, those are in the US too. Like
most of them are, yeah.
Yeah. Faith doctrine, Vatican, United Nations agencies tied to humanity. That's in New York.
That's in New York.
Global NGO networks are typically based in New York also. Education systems that shape social narratives. I mean,
Like the global UN building is in New York City.
There's no global education systems like outside of the UN, which again is in New York. Force, which is the military, Washington, D.C., NATO command structure. NATO command is not in New York. Defense contractors, or not in Washington. Defense contractors, they might have an office in New York, but they're all over the country. Intelligence partnerships and the Homeland Security apparatus. These institutions are the, quote, public face of the deeper structure, the part most people can see. They form the operational layer that carries out the will of those at the pyramid's apex. Let's roll. ... Next tweet. It's funny that he even takes the time to break the, I say he, I have no idea, but it's funny that they take the time to break these tweets up.
Yeah, this person
because they clearly have
a fucking non-binary.
Because whatever, it's out there.
All right, I know.
Because they clearly have a paid account. They have a blue check mark. This could all be one long Bill Ackman tweet. Or like Ackerman tweet.
He's making it a fucking thread for no reason.
Making it a thread for no reason. Yeah. Because some of these are really long and some of them are much shorter. So, number 4, Apex. The hidden governance above these visible systems sit interlinked.
Above is capitalized for some reason.
Yes, yeah. The hidden governance. No. You're right. You're right. I should have pointed that out. The hidden governance above these visible systems sit interlinked ancient networks. I read it the way it was written. Black nobility families.
What?
There are so many threads to pull here. I mean, we could do an episode just breaking apart all of this.
Are they the ones? The ones that came from Black Wall Street?
I'm getting exposed to a bunch of different things that I previously had never encountered before, which, I'm not I don't hold the keys to the QAnon kingdom or something like that. I don't know I can't unlock every door, but I've read a lot and seen a lot and, over the past few years. And then I come across things and I'm just like, I don't even have time to look this up or else I would never get this episode out the door. So Black nobility families, Khazarian dynasties is another one. And then, of course, some standbys, Jesuit orders and elite Masonic lodges. Their methods are rooted in a Luciferian inversion, using law, faith, and force in reverse of their original moral intent to consolidate control. Now, I don't know if the Luciferian inversion predates this, but that's something that also figures in prominently in the protocols of the Elders of Zion, that what the Jews were doing is an inversion of the Christian sacrament.
Well, we heard some of this kind of language about Luciferian inversion and other stuff from David Avocado Wolf. We heard.
Yeah, he bought into that stuff too. Yeah, he bought into that stuff too.
But his was influenced by the guy that was adjacent to Blavatsky. I'm forgetting his name right now. But he was like right fucking there, and he split off and made his own thing. That's where a lot of that stuff was coming.
You talking about Rudolf Steiner?
Steiner, thank you.
Yeah, the anthroposophy.
Yes.
So Blavatsky did theosophy, and which is sort of like the wisdom of the gods, and anthroposophy is the wisdom of man, of people. Rudolf Steiner. Yeah, I forgot about his connection to Steiner.
Yeah, well, Steiner's where he got a lot of his stuff, where he's talking about
Yeah.
Lucifer and all that.
Yeah,
And this
yeah.
sounds fucking identical.
Yeah, it is similar. Yeah, for sure. Using law, faith, and force in reverse of their original moral intent to consolidate control. The sustaining formula, finance plus faith plus force equals a self-reinforcing architecture of global authority. But that was just shattered.
What?
This is the part.
This guy is basically retweeting Karl Marx here,
So,
except in the kookiest fucking way.
Well, yeah, it's true. He is. Yeah. Imagine that if you were like taking Capital and you were going to like just break it up into a series of tweets and just do that forever. Wonder how long it would take.
He's distilling the opiate of the masses shit here. It's just he's coming at it from this fucking evangelical kook perspective.
But there's different layers that you can pick out from this, and you can choose to interact with or not. But I think it's good to identify them. Because one is that you have this worldview layer, this sort of, this architecture of global authority, this constructed view of the world. And, like to pull something from, what's his name? McClellan, Dan McClellan.
Yeah. Dan McClellan. Yeah.
Yeah. McClellan. That, he uses this in reference to talking about the Bible, but, that everybody's understanding of the Bible is negotiated. Well, everybody's understanding of everything is negotiated. We never get to touch reality. It's always an interpretation that happens inside of our heads. So when this guy looks out at the world, when this account, whoever's behind it looks out at the world, this could, it's too complicated for Marjorie Taylor Greene, but it could be somebody that we know. This could be a sock puppet account that belongs to some, prominent like public figure. You never know.
Do we find out at long last it's Candace Owens?
Yeah, it's way too there's too much going on for it to be Candace Owens. There's also way too much going on for it to be Marjorie Taylor Greene. But with this, when the person or people behind this account look out at the world, this is what they see. They see an architecture of global authority. They see kind of like old school Alex Jones prison planet shit. And that's one thing. That's one layer to look at. But then the next is the view of Trump and Trump's actions and the importance that's placed on them by saying that, by claiming that he can just shatter that. He can just bust it up with the stroke of a pen. And that, by sending troops into DC and federalizing the Metropolitan Police, that's all gone now, or at least one leg of the stool has been removed. And that's it. I think it's just worth separating all that shit.
And really and the reality that you see on the ground, they're not fucking breaking into the underground layers of the League of Doom, or God damn it, Legion of Doom. They're not fucking doing that. It's a bunch of teenagers standing on a street corner in uniform, who are just trying to get their fucking college paid for.
Well, you saw the videos recently. Like a lot of National Guard are just walking around parks picking up trash because the Park Service budget was slashed, and they had to lay a bunch of people off. They were already shorthanded, and then they had, they're completely incapable of performing their function now because so many people had to be laid off. And now these National Guardsmen and women that have been deployed to DC are walking around parks picking up garbage.
I saw this TikTok that it wasn't real, but I want it to be real. I want somebody to do this, and surely somebody's gonna do it, where it depicted the National Guard standing around, and it sounded as though somebody was playing over a loudspeaker Hanoi Hannah for the National Guard troops, and it was so fun. It was clearly like, they just overlaid the sound to some footage of the National Guard, but I want that to happen so badly because that's fucking hilarious.
I want somebody to turn some of this video that's been taken into a mock-up of a National Guard recruitment video. Yeah.
picking up trash,
It was
like you're doing community service for driving drunk.
basically, yeah, or whatever, you know, like not having a seatbelt on and being a sovereign citizen and claiming that there's no constitutional right for the police to have arrested you. I'm gonna keep going.
I'm not a commercial vehicle. Okay.
What you don't see is that by federalizing DC, you effectively remove it from its independence with the City of London and the Vatican. It is no longer a, quote, sovereign corporation. Think Act of 1871 void, but it's not. It's just not. It's still there. It's not like it's been countermanded. It's an executive order. Executive orders aren't fucking laws. People don't understand that. Laws are laws. Executive orders are like, you know, kind of wiggle room in between the laws until the Supreme Court says yes or no. There's a violation of the law.
Then, it's just directions to prioritize how you carry out the laws within the powers that are already there and the laws that are already there.
You can't do an executive order that's illegal, that is against an existing law. You have to get rid of the law. That's what the legislative process is for. Now, I know, yeah, Trump's doing it. What's Trump's doing is illegal. I'm not going there because I hate that fucking liberal whining. It's the worst. But
it's a fancy memo.
Yeah, it's a strongly worded letter.
Did you get the memo about the TPS reports?
Federalizing DC severs its status as a sovereign corporate entity, breaking its triad with the City of London and the Vatican. It's a quiet jurisdictional reset that reclaims the capital as a true constitutional seat of government. The unholy trinity just became an unholy duet. One with zero military control. Without DC, the duet is powerless. God is indeed in complete control. God is in control. Through Trump. That's the connection. God? Don't forget the through Trump part. Trump is acting. That was God guiding Trump's hand to sign the executive order. Holy smokes, booms are flying, which in QAnon fashion they spell BQQMS. Booms are flying. On the same day, this is a continuation, but it's a response to somebody's reacting to this tweet thread. On the same day, Trump federalizes Washington, D.C., stripping it of its sovereign corporate status under the Act of 1871. The Vatican is rocked by explosive allegations of a, quote, skeleton key money laundering scheme that could alter SWIFT transfers to erase financial trails. Wait, what? I thought London was the center of the financial network, the unholy global financial trinity, not the Vatican. Why does it matter that there's a financial scandal in the fucking Vatican? That's where the moral compass comes from.
It's obviously where all the Nazi paintings go too.
Obviously, the lines aren't quite so darkly drawn as this guy wants to make them. You know, like
even in his own fucking tweet.
Even in his own tweet thread, you have this built-in like contradiction. I mean,
and it's not even fucking tweets from like 2 years apart.
No,
it's the same thread.
It's the same thread.
Stream of consciousness.
It's the same day. The scheme gave the Holy See's financial arm the ability to change sender or receiver details after transactions were sent, effectively wiping fingerprints from global money movements. Now, this is a real news story. This account is latched onto, and it really was referred to as a skeleton key, and it kind of does do the thing that's being described here. So this actually is a big deal. You know, this ties into the P2 stuff, like we talked about with Gabriel Kennedy a few episodes back, or a few months back, or I don't know. Time is a flat circle, right? But it ties into the propaganda due type things, and Cardinal Marcinko, who they referred to as God's banker, and you know, and that whole scandal with all the money laundering that was going on, and the leave behind movement type stuff, and you know, this like basically like control fascist groups that were being funded by dark money, as well as financial transactions that were going all over the world to launder arms sales and, you know, all kinds of drug transactions and stuff like that, and then passing this all through the Vatican to clean it all up, like by way of the Cayman Islands.
Hey, you know what? If anybody knows how to launder, it's got to be the people who have the whitest of white robes. You know what I mean?
And nobody say anything.
Ah,
Don't give them an inch with this stuff. So basically, the takeaway from all of this, according to this account, is that two pillars of the unholy trinity, DC, military and political, and the Vatican, religious / financial now / financial. The earlier claim has been modified. It is not like London was the financial one, and now the Vatican is religious / financial.
yeah, the Pope now has the banker roommate.
Get hit within hours, sending a clear message. The most protected power centers on Earth are no longer untouchable. Only the city of London remains, and if the pattern holds, its turn is coming. All eyes on. This isn't random news. It's a coordinated takedown of a centuries-old control matrix executed in plain sight. See my thread below for more details. I will tell. All secrets will be revealed. Boom times 3. The sealing of the final deal. First, Trump federalizes DC by invoking 10 USC Section 12406 and the Home Rule Act to reclaim the capital from its corporate independence under the Act of 1878. And that's just the order. That's just the legal statute that allows the president to deploy the National Guard. That's all that is. But it makes it sound really impressive when you say invoking section whatever, like paragraph whatever.
And by the way, the Home Rule Act. So he skips over this to get to the spooky stuff of the 19th century because older shit is spookier. Home Rule Act was fucking Nixon in the 70s. So he doesn't mention
what is the Home
Nixon
Rule Act? What is that about?
It basically it changed DC to be semi-autonomous.
Okay.
That happened under Nixon.
All right, fine. That's.
But my point being that he skips over what the Home Rule Act was. That was Nixon in the 70s. But he emphasizes the Act of 1871.
And again, it is but it never describes what the Act of 1871 actually does. It just says it created a corporation, a legal fiction. He's skipping over everything. Not just
but
the
he
Nixon
loves certain
stuff.
Details. The point here is to have certain seemingly obscure details.
This isn't just Law and Order optics. It's a jurisdictional reset, cutting DC out of its private triad with the City of London and the Vatican. First leg of the unholy trinity, gone. Next, the Vatican gets rocked. Explosive allegations erupt of a skeleton key money laundering scheme capable of altering SWIFT transactions to erase financial trails. The very mechanism the cabal used to shuttle dark money between power centers is now under forensic light. Second leg, snapped off. Now comes the final leg, and Trump's move is anything but subtle. It's in your face, all caps. On September 17th to 19, more prophecies. Can some Q experts dig on these dates? Trump will make an unprecedented second state visit to the United Kingdom. The first time in history a U.S. president has been invited twice for a full ceremonial reception. That's just because Trump owns Keir Starmer's ass. I mean,
the fucking pandering.
That's it. That's the only thing. King Charles III and Queen Camilla will host him at Windsor Castle, the seat of royal prestige, in full public view. Time for full capitulation. They've already been capitulating. This isn't tea and photo ops. The City of London is a financial engine and hidden power hub, except for the financial engine in the Vatican City. It is the last standing pillar of the cabal's global grip. Trump walking into that arena with full royal honors signals more than diplomacy. It's the handshake that closes a deal, years in the making. The trip comes directly after DC's sovereignty reset and the Vatican's exposure, making it the natural third strike in a 3-move checkmate. I love it. It's a 5D chess reference again.
Yeah.
When DC, the Vatican, and the City of London all lose their independent strangleholds, the unholy trinity isn't just broken, it shattered into 1,000 pieces and scattered to the wind. This trip seals the deal, locking in a geopolitical shift that can't be undone. Complete deep state destruction. This is the Great Awakening.
The way that he's talking is very similar to the way that your standard sovereign citizen, your standard issue Sovset talks about things, because their worldview is based in this idea that legalese, at least what they think legalese sounds like, it's not even legalese. It's just shit that sounds to them like a lawyer said it sometime, even better if it's 19th century sounding. Had some kind, it's some kind of a magical incantation. It's a supernatural power, and if they say the right words in the right order, it'll cast a spell that gives them legal immunity. So when a cop pulls them over, they just have to say the right combination of words, and then the cop will say, "Oh, I didn't realize that you had the magic decoder ring. You're free to go."
Well, or they're like, they're standing in front of a judge and they say just the right thing, and as long as the flag on the wall doesn't have gold fringe on it, then they're just going to be let go and they don't have to pay child support anymore.
Or your soul is given over to Satan when the document is in all capital letters, or they have a whole thing about capital letters too, like all caps. That is often in legal documents, and this almost might be plausible in the sense of there is a difference between de facto and de jure. And the hit really, if the history that they reference and the magical incantations weren't completely fucking fictional, and no historians or legal scholars recognize any of what they're saying, if that weren't the case, it might actually be believable. But the fact is that it's almost like in the sense of the First Amendment. For example, Trump just did his whole executive order saying, hey, you can't burn flags anymore. Well, that was already settled in 1989. And then it was settled again in like 90 or 91 in a separate Supreme Court, two different Supreme Court rulings that said, yeah, burning the American flag or any flag is absolutely included in the First Amendment. So what Trump is doing is the same thing that has happened in protests for however long protests have existed in the United States, which is that if they're not going to get you on the legal basis of the protest itself, they're going to get you with things that are adjacent to the protest. So cops will say something like, "Oh no, it's not illegal to protest, but I'm going to get you for jaywalking or disturbing the peace." Or cops will say, "This is an unlawful assembly." Well, if cops can just declare an unlawful assembly anytime they fucking want, then the right to assemble is not a fucking right in the first fucking place. So the de jure of that is in conflict with the de facto.
Just to clarify something, this is not the soup de jour, it's de jure.
I have thought for 37 or 38 years or however fucking old I am that it's de jure.
No, it's de jure.
Time.
It's actually de jure. It's two words.
Son of a bitch.
De facto de jure. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, the point
it just has to do with like convention versus it's actually written in law.
Yeah, so what's written in law versus what's happening on the ground as it's practiced. And so the point here is that what is practiced is what is fucking real. What is written down is not what is real unless it is what is also what is practiced. And that's my point about the First Amendment, which is that, in theory, we have a First Amendment right to assemble, but that right gets taken away whenever the fuck they want to. So in de jure, it's not real. In the same way
de jure.
God damn it. In the same way that even if it was true that you said the right combination of words to the cop that pulled you over that forced him to let you go, he still arrests you and you still fucking go to jail, even if that was true. So de jure makes reality.
Yeah, there it is.
Huh? How do you like that?
There it is.
And all of it's made up in the first fucking place. All of it's made up. The whole thing is made up. Whether it's on paper or not doesn't make it any less made up.
That's true. Just because if a bunch of legislators get together and vote on something, they're making it up together.
Honestly, it's like the fucking Neil Gaiman novel, American Gods, where the whole premise is that deities are created and empowered by human belief. And then when they're no longer worshipped, then they lose all their power and fade away. That's the same story with laws. That's the same story with institutions of any kind.
That's it. All right. That is it, actually. I think that's all the time that we're going to get the fuck out of here.
I got to go.
All right. That is all the time we have for today. And we will catch you all next time. I think we're going to be off next week, and then we'll be back.
Well, we've been off for like a month.
We
keep seeing you because we like you.
Yeah, we keep coming back. Again, be sure to rate and review Wet Wired on Apple Podcasts and Spotify or wherever you listen, whatever app that is, and test out the Patreon. See what you think. The free trial lasts for like a week or something like that.
Later, skaters.
Bye.
And tonight, 1,700 National Guard troops are now set to mobilize across 19 states over the coming weeks. They are going to help Homeland Security execute a sweeping federal crime and immigration crackdown that is underway now. The order is effective August through mid-November, Fox News is learning. And a U.S. defense official tells Jackie Heinrich and Liz Frieden the National Guard being mobilized will effectively serve as a support pillar.